Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 9th, 2020 Planning Board hearing for the town of Brookhaven. At this time, I'd like to have a roll call. Mr. Pete Zarcone,
I'm present.
Ms. Patricia Kelly,
I'm present.
Mr. Steve Walutis,
Present.
Ms. Karen Dunn,
Present.
Mr. Richard Smith,
Present.
Mr. John Rose,
Present.
and I'm Vincent Pascal, present. With us, we also have counsel for the Planning Board, Ms. Lee Ray, Commissioner of the Planning Department, Ms. Beth Riley, and Secretary of the Planning Department, Ms. Eileen McCallion. Ms. McCallion, are there any items on the agenda that will not be heard this afternoon?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 5, Waffles and Soul at Bellport has requested to be withdrawn. And also, item number 13, Lumberjacks at Selden has is being adjourned until December 7th. And lastly, item number 14, Tyler Avenue at Miller Place has requested to be adjourned until December 7th.
Thank you, Ms. McCallion. If there's anyone out in the public who's participating in this meeting, please, when you enter into the participant room, please state what item you wish to speak on, as well as the agenda name. And this way, Council Rate will be able to call you in at the proper time. At this time, I'd like to take an item out of order due to a scheduling conflict. We're going to move right to item number 4, 1600 Route 25, Court at Ridge. Is the applicant present?
If the applicant is present, can you please let me know who's here to speak on this? Okay, I have it right now. Just give me 1 second.
Once again, anyone who's participating in this virtual meeting, please, when you enter the participant room, please state the agenda item, the name, and the item number that you wish to speak on. Is the applicant in yet?
Yes, I have Diane Moget.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, Ms. Moget, will you raise your right hand, please? You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Commissioner?
Application is located at 1600 Route 25 in Ridge, Zone J Business 6 zoning, and is 2.4371 acres. The application is to add a 500 square foot atrium addition on the southeast side of the building. The applicant states that there's no additional seating proposed in the area, and that the area being proposed is built for patrons to wait for tables while being socially distanced. There are 7 staff recommendations, last dated 11/5/2020.
Ms. Moget, have you received a copy of the staff recommendations?
I did not.
Okay. Commissioner, can you put those on the board?
Yes.
On the screen? Can you see them, Ms. Moget?
Not yet. It's loading.
Can you read them?
Sure. Approval of the plan submitted with a revised date of 10/9/2020. Approval of the elevation and floor plan dated 9/24/2020. Applicant must submit proof to the satisfaction of the town attorney's office that the covenants and restrictions approved to form its substance referenced below have been filed. Covenant being no seating or food service shall be permitted within the 500 square foot addition without obtaining approval from Suffolk County Department of Health Services. Any change in use from atrium shall require additional application to the planning division. No clearing or construction until such time as a building permit has been issued. No CO until a written request for an inspection has been received from the planning division, and the change of use expires within 3 days from the date unless a building permit has been issued and substantial construction commenced.
3 years, correct?
3 years, yes.
Okay. All right. That's absolutely acceptable. We have no issue with any of those requirements.
All right, thank you, Ms. Moget. Is there any participants on this application, Counselor?
Not that I'm aware of.
No one logged in at this time. Do any board members have questions?
I just wanted to verify this is a permanent structure, correct?
It is a permanent structure. It's kind of like an atrium, an aluminum and glass type addition. This was an afterthought when he was building the restaurant because of the COVID situation. And now with the cooler weather coming into play, it's harder to have patrons wait outside or in their car. It's uncomfortable. So this is predominantly to give them a place where it's still inside the restaurant, but separated from the rest of the restaurant so that they can socially distance and still adhere to the criteria for COVID.
Thank you, Diane.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, Steve Walutis.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Diane, is this restaurant open yet?
Yes, it is. It has a certificate of occupancy. It is open and operating. They're doing very well. It's a beautiful place. They've done a magnificent job with it. So they do have patrons that are waiting to be seated because of the COVID criteria. They are not at full capacity, so they do have a situation where patrons are waiting outside. As soon as the weather started to turn, it became apparent, since the COVID rules had not necessarily changed, that they were going to have an issue going into the colder months.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Steve Walutis. I make a motion to close this public hearing and place it on the decision calendar.
May I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, Pete Zarcone, I second that motion.
Ms. Kelly,
I vote aye.
Ms. Dunn,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
aye,
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Moget.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to
Have a
go to the
wonderful afternoon.
I'd like to go back to the beginning. Item number 1 is relief of covenants, Manor Estates, lot number 66 at Manorville.
Property is located at 28 Frontier Trail in Manorville. The applicant is requesting an increase in clearing from 36% to 58.5%. Lot size is 40,000 square feet. It's located within the compatible growth area of the Pine Barrens and is currently zoned A2. Current policy for clearing in A2 zoning in the Pine Barrens is 35%. Current clearing for a parcel this size outside of the Pine Barrens is 53%.
Yes, I have, I'm sorry, Don Beth, I'm sorry.
So at the time of the subdivision, the parcel was zoned B Residence 1. There are 5 staff recommendations, last dated 10/3/2020. Recommendation is a denial of the increase from 36% to 58.5%. Approval of an increase to 53%. Submit a detailed revegetation plan. Submitted amended covenants and final survey prior to recording.
Thank you, Commissioners. The applicant present
Yes,
Yes.
is Ms. Tracy Rivera.
Yes.
Yeah, please raise your right hand.
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You received a copy of the staff recommendations?
I was able to view it online today.
Okay. Do you have questions or concerns on any of those items on the recommendation
No,
list?
not at all. Looks like the standard staff recommendations for parcels such as this. So we're ready to move forward and comply with what the board is granting us.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the public in the chat room, Council?
I have no one.
Any board members have questions? May I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, can I make a motion to close this public hearing and place the matter on the decision calendar?
Motion by Ms. Dunn,
second by Richard Smith,
second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone,
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly,
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis,
I vote yes.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Old Orchard Drive, Old Orchard at Miller Place, lot number 3.
Located in the map of Old Orchard at Miller Place, Lot 3, 6 Old Orchard Way, Miller Place. The request is an increase in clearing from 48% to 70%. Survey submitted depicts clearing at 79.6%. Parcel is located within the CGA. The parcel is approximately 29,250 square feet. The parcel is currently zoned A1. Examination by the Division of Environmental Protection, there's no objection to the increase in clearing based on similar approvals within the Old Orchard subdivision. Staff recommendations, there's 5 of them, last dated 10/13/2020. recommends a denial of the increase from 48% to 70%, allowance of a clearing limit increase to 60%, revegetation plan shall be submitted for areas cleared in excess of 60%, submit amended covenants and final survey prior to filing.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is the applicant present, Counselor?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. Is this Tracy Rivera once again?
No,
I'm
Amy
sorry.
DeVito.
Okay. Can you bring him in?
Mr.
Yes, Amy DeVito is in the meeting.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Vito?
Amy.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the board.
Yes, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Have you received a copy of the staff recommendations?
I did.
And do you have any questions on any of those items, 1 through 5?
So under normal circumstances, we're obviously always grateful for whatever the, staff and board are, willing to grant with reference to increase of clearing limit. I am slightly concerned though that the pool is going to prevent us from revegetating the way we need to make up the 19% difference. My client is currently 79.6% over cleared. I understand that when I originally researched this property that there were, I believe, within the vicinity of the neighborhood, grants that did go up to 70%. Was that not taken into consideration? Or what I'm trying to determine is if there is ability to negotiate this higher to closer to the 70%, or if this is just going to be the standard precedent that you guys are going to follow for this particular area.
When you did the research, did you look at the actual lot sizes on the various ones that were granted up to 70%? Did you take that into consideration?
Yes, they were part of this. I don't know if they were part of this immediate subdivision, but they were part of this. I'm just trying to remember. I didn't write down the address of the one that was closer to 70%. I would have to come back to the board or bring it back to the staff to discuss. But most of the lots in this neighborhood, but for just a handful, at least the developed ones, are almost identical in size to the subject lot.
Okay, well, we'll look into that. Council, is there anyone in the public participating in this application?
No.
No. Okay, so that's your only concern. You want to try and increase somewhere between 60 and 70%?
Yes, because like I said, Mr. Chairman, the only issue is that he has a pool, a fenced-in pool and a paver patio, and we could obviously vegetate, all the whole area behind the pool and even go along the side of it. But once we start vegetating any further north of the pool, now we're going to be vegetating the only area they have to actually enjoy the use of their backyard. So I'm just concerned about that. I do want to also speak with the surveyor just to determine what that square footage would translate to on paper, just so I could get a visual of it. So if I may, is it possible to hold this over until the next meeting?
Most certainly, I was going to suggest that. What would be the minimum that you would accept as a clearing limit?
Well, we asked for 70. That's obviously what our preference would be. At this point, anything as close to 70 as could possibly be granted would be preferable.
Well, it depends where you start from. If you start from 10, 60 is close, but let's see what we can do on this, okay? So you want to...
Well, I'm sorry. We're at 60 right now, which, like I said, we are obviously grateful for. And we did request 70. So even if we can maybe meet in the middle at 65, that would be helpful.
All right,
You want to reach out to Brooks and see where the vegetation could go and what maybe he could look at it for you?
Okay, that would be great.
All right, so you want to hold this over to the next meeting on, I guess it's 12/7? That would be
Yes.
enough time for you to speak to Brooks and Environmental
that
to
would
see
be
if
fine.
maybe you can work up a new revegetation plan that we can meet somewhere, okay?
That would be fine. Great, thank you.
All right, so there's no one in the public on this application, so can I have a motion to hold this to a date certain of December 7th, 2020?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Steve Walutis. I make a motion to hold this application open until December 7th.
December 7th.
Second.
All right, so there's no one in the public on this application, so can I have a motion to hold this to a date certain of December 7th, 2020?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Steve Walutis. I make a motion to hold this application open until December 7th.
right,
Mr.
motion-
Chairman, this is Board Member Pete Zarcone. I'll second that motion.
A motion by Mr. Walutis, second by Mr. Zarcone. Ms. Kelly,
I vote aye.
Ms. Dunn,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Rose,
Aye.
chair votes aye. So, okay, we're scheduling this for, once again, for December 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.
Okay, item number 3, MD 365 at Patchogue.
Property is located at 122 South Sunrise Highway Service Road, Patchogue. It's Zone J Business 2. It's 4.853 acres. The application is for a change of use from retail furniture to medical office for a part of the building. As per the planning board approval letter of June 25th, 2007, any change of use from retail furniture shall require an application for review and approval by the planning board. The applicant proposes to complete an interior renovation of 3,000 square feet in the middle of Phase 1 section of the Retail Commercial Center. The space was originally proposed and approved to be a section of the retail furniture showroom. Staff recommendation, let's open that up. Is to deny the change of use for the furniture store to medical use. The applicant has proposed that in the middle of the existing building, which is supposed to be one retail furniture store. They have not demonstrated a need for the change of use based on application history. The proposed modification would lead to other such modifications in this commercial building. And the staff finds that the proposed medical use and proposed tenant location would transition this site into a traditional retail strip center that was and is a concern of the community, the board, and the staff. So I'm going to pull up the plan for you. The plan that was submitted, this is supposed to be the retail showroom here, and they're proposing it right in the middle of that. And the floor plan that they've submitted is an L shape, which doesn't match the plan that was submitted.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is the applicant present, Counselor?
Yes, let's see. I have Mr. Bigliotta that I just let into the call. Mario, are you there?
Hello?
Hi, Mario, we
Hello?
can hear you.
All right, Mr. Viglio.
Okay, I'm sorry. For some reason, I'm not able to connect online.
Okay, so can you raise your right hand and let me know when your right hand raised?
My right hand is raised.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Viglio. You heard the recommendations. You want to talk about them?
Yes, I represent MD 365, a new and upcoming medical group. They currently have an office in Montauk Highway in Shirley, and another one on Portium Road in Ronkonkoma. And they currently would like to open a location here in Patchogue. And basically, they propose to open a 3,000 square foot office space offering medical services to the public.
Did you review the covenants and condition recommendations that were put on this site when it was approved back in 2007?
I had conversations with the town. I wasn't sent anything. I was told that it was, basically I was told it was for a furniture store and that any changes would need to go before the planning board, but I was told that they didn't think there was too big of a concern.
It was originally slated for single tenant uses.
Okay. Well, we're here, asking for a separate use for 3,000 square foot. Really appreciate if the board would consider that.
All right, Counselor, is anyone in the public participating in this application?
No.
Okay, board members, you have questions?
I do, Mr. Chairman. This is Richard Smith.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
From the location of this proposed medical tenant space, it's breaking that up. So now it looks like in the initial phase of that furniture store, you're going to end up with at least 3 different tenancies as opposed to 1.
Well, based on your location, I guess I could see. I personally don't know what the owner's plans are for future use of any of the other spaces, but I see what your point.
Is this building being used for multiple tenants at the present time?
Correct. At the present time, no. It's just a furniture store.
He's not subletting it out to any other,
There's a mattress store and there's a,
Oh.
I think, consumers cabinets,
Yes, that's right. There is a consumer cabinet, yes.
which we looked at as part of that furniture.
I meant in any, nothing other than furniture. In light of the fact of the era that we're living in now, as far as the coronavirus, I'm sure the landlord is looking for other income because of the decline in the amount of people that are attending. That compared to the fact that this is for medical use, which I believe is a necessity now more than ever in light of COVID.
Well, why couldn't this tenant space be located at the end? Why does it have to be dead center? And why doesn't the floor plan match the depiction that was submitted?
Well, the floor plan is what they want. The depiction was probably done in error. As far as where the location is, that's where the tenant and the landlord, current owner, had suggested for the space. I mean, if needed, if desired by the board to relocate it to one end or the other, I'm certain that I'm relatively certain that they would agree to that.
This is Richard Smith again. Are the 2 wings built on it yet, or is it just the initial phase of this building?
No, they're open.
they're open, Mr.
I'm not
Smith.
sure. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, it's. I believe it's all constructed.
Okay, so the whole building's constructed, and there's a furniture store, there's a mattress store, and now they want to put in this medical facility.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions by the board? No other questions? May I have a motion to close?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close this public hearing and put the matter on the decision calendar.
Motion to close by Ms. Kelly,
Chairman, this is Board Member Pete Zarcone. I'll second that motion.
second by Mr. Zarcone. Mr. Walutis,
I vote aye.
Ms. Dunn,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Rose,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Motion. Okay, thank you, Mr. Vigliotta.
Thank you.
Item number 4 was heard earlier. Item number 5 has been withdrawn. We move on to item number 6, Crest National Wisconsin LLC Medical.
Property is located on the northwest corner of New York State Route 347 and William Street in Port Jefferson Station. It's currently Zone J Business 2. Proposal is for the applicant to do a facade alteration and change of use from a shuttered automobile dealership to a New York Cancer and Blood Medical Office and a vacant medical office. Staff recommends approval. There are 4 conditions, last dated 10/30/2020.
Thank you, Commissioner. Counselor, is the applicant present?
No, I don't have anyone here who has indicated that they're here for application number 6 for Crest.
Okay, I'll come back to that in a little while. I'll come back later.
Want to move on to 7, 8, and 9?
Yes, 7, 8, and 9, Arthur Avenue, Montauk Highway. We'll take the 3 of them together. One is for a land division.
Yes. The application is, number 7 is for a land division, and 8 and 9 are for site plans and a special permit. Here. The land division with the 2 companion site plans resultant lots are detailed herein. Land division conforms to the town code requirements for the L1 zoning district. The lots are proposed 1, site plan A, with a 75,874 square foot building that is already used and CO'd for an office and motor vehicle repair. Area of the site will be reduced and the site will be improved and enhanced. The other site plan B, with an 80,000 square foot proposal to be developed into an office warehouse building with associated site improvements. There's several staff recommendations for number 7, there are 2, last dated 10/28/2020. For number 8, there are 7, last dated 10/27/2020. And number 9, there's 7 of them dated 10/28/2020. So I'm going to pull up the plan for you.
Counselor, in the meantime, is the applicant present?
Yes,
Mr.
Chief.
Okay. Anyone from the public who wishes to participate in any of these applications, when you enter into the chat room to discuss, please put your name, the item number, or the agenda name next to your name so we know who to call in on each application. Commissioner, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sure. So this is the land division. You have your existing building over here. And then move the letters on me, sorry. Here's site plan A. Here's the existing building, storage area. And then you letter B.
Seeing the number of chats.
Sorry, it's just a little slow.
Commissioner, are you pulling up the elevations? Is that what
Yeah,
we're
I'm trying.
Okay.
It's just taking a long time. So there's B. The elevations are supposed to be in here. Yeah.
You waited all this time for that?
Yeah, I know. So that, there you go. There you go. That's for parcel B.
Okay. Is that you, Mr. Russo?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, and members of the board.
Good afternoon, Counselor.
As you're aware, I'm from the law firm Van Brunt, Jesuiak and Russo with offices at 140 Main Street. On behalf of the applicant, Mrs. Mary Jo Fuco and Ms. Shirley Gerard. The Gerard and Fuco family has owned this property since 1983. And as Ms. Riley pointed out, we are seeking a land division of the entire acreage, which is 3.757 acres, into 2 parcels. Both parcels, the entire property is zoned L1 industrial. The reason that they are seeking to do this is the entire site was previously approved by zoning board and planning board with site plan approval and zoning board approval as a bus storage facility back in 1984 and 86. There are certificates of occupancy on site plan A that reflect that, and it has been and was used as a school bus storage facility up until recently, when now it has buses as well as other large vehicles on site that they do and continue to do automotive repairs for the property. The family has made the decision that they are seeking to split the parcel in 2 because the 2 families involved each would wind up based on estate purposes with the respective parcels as they decide between them. The total lot area, as Ms. Riley pointed out, is 3.57 acres. Parcel A, which is the existing motor vehicle bus operation, which has the 2 certificates of occupancy, which we provided copies to the town, one for an office of 1640 square feet, issued 12/3/85, the other for a 1-story 60 by 80 automotive repair garage was issued April 16 of 86. That parcel would wind up being 1.74 acres in size. The remaining parcel, which is B, is 1.84 acres, and that's the piece that is being proposed with a warehouse office facility that would be shown on the property as stated by Ms. Riley in the call. All compliant code requirements for zoning and parking and drainage, site work are to be met with. There's no variance relief being sought for either proposed parcel. The area overall, I provided you, the board, if you wanted to look at it, because we knew there might be concerns from the community about this property development. There are about 35 photographs taken up and down Arthur Avenue on the east side and west side, as well as the railroad, and showing you the street. I was there last week twice. And when you are on the street, there is a lot of truck traffic that goes on Arthur Avenue. It's sort of used from Beaver Dam Road up to Montauk Highway to kind of avoid the necessity of the 2 lights on Station Road and Montauk Highway. And given the new ambulance company that is there at the location on Station Road, if you look at the photographs, you will see the east side is predominantly residential. The west side is the industrial piece, and adjacent to and behind us is the masonry supply company that you can see in the photographs. And if you looked at an aerial, shows you piles of dirt and mulch, et cetera, that they use from there. As indicated, we've reviewed all the staff comments that were provided as of October 28th and 29th. We have no issues with them, either for the land division or either site plan A or site plan B. With me today is Anthony Zellick, the project manager from J.R. Holtzmacher, who worked with us to help design and move forward with the 2 site plans in the land division. Applications have been filed with the Water Authority as well as with the Health Department for the proposed sites. And if you have questions, I can have Mr. Zellick review and go over with you the specifics of the site plans. But there are buffers on all sides of site plan B that are code compliant at 25 feet each on the south, the north, and as well as the east and the west. And there are buffers proposed on site plan A, which would be on the west and the south. But because of the railroad and the position of the existing building, and also the industrial use to the rear on the west side, as well as the building as currently exists with a CO, there was no ability to create a buffer on the west side as sought by or recommended by code, but staff looking at the COs acknowledged that this wasn't a necessity. Otherwise, all drainage, site requirements, sidewalk, landscaping, curb with the entrances is proposed. If you have questions, Mr. Zellick can address them.
All right, we'll move on to the public. Councilor Rate, do we have anyone in the public?
Yes, I have 2 people from the public. I'd like to first just letting him in now.
Mr. Chairman, I just also want to add for the record, all the necessary affidavits and posting, mailings, green card receipts were submitted last Friday to Ms. McCallion. And we did have discussion earlier today with Lori Walsh, who resides at 48 Sands Lane in the cul-de-sac. And I explained and reviewed with her the application. So I don't know if that's one of the people that are coming.
Well, I won't know until they come on, but I know Mr.
Right, I have a Mr. Rivera. Let me see. I think I lost him. If he wrote a letter earlier. Hold on just a moment, please.
Okay. Ms. McCallion, how many letters did we get on this application? Do you have a record of that?
We received 2,
Okay.
and one man said he was going to log on to speak. about it. I think it was 21 Arthur Avenue, his address, if I'm correct.
What was the name on that?
Um,
21 Arthur Avenue is on the east side of the property, south of the subject property.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's the gentleman who we're trying to get on the live.
Yeah, he was trying to get on, and he
Yes.
also sent me some comments. Let's see. Perhaps I can.
If we can't get him on, can you read what his comments are for the public?
Yes, let me pull up his comments. I received a letter informing me about the proposed project for the office industrial warehouse parking lot adjacent to my property. I wanted to know what I can do to object to this project that is not going to be positive for my family and the residents on the block. I bought my house for my family 2 years ago, assuming it would be a quiet area to raise my kids, and it's not fair to have an industrial warehouse that will cause noise, more traffic, environmental impact, as well as impact our privacy. I live across the street and it is just invasive for a residential area full of kids. And that's what he put to me. All right, I also have someone else from the another neighbor that I'd like to let in.
Okay. Let me know when you're in. I think they have to speak before they actually come on the screen.
Okay, I've let Laura, I have you in. Okay, there she is.
Excuse me one moment.
Laura, we just need you to unmute, please.
Okay. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Laura?
Hi, how are you today?
Okay, can you please raise your right hand?
Yes.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, you may speak.
Okay, I live on the corner of Sands and Arthur Avenue, so right across the street from that bus yard. I live at 47 Sands. I have dealt with their pollution multiple times. In my house, I've had to have air quality testing. It came up with volatile organics, and I had an NCON officer go over there, and they actually gave them a violation for illegal painting. I have documents from the county that they have improperly discharged into their storm drains with volatile organics. So these people not only pollute in this way, but not only that, it's not just a storage and repair facility. This is a very large business that is in here. It's called Advantage Funding. It's a very large international bus company. Many buses are coming in and out of here over their storage capacity, and they run the buses incessantly for more than 10 minutes, which you're only allowed to really, put on an engine for more than 10 minutes, and that's it. But they let the fumes run all throughout the neighborhood. I've many times, even this morning, from 11:20 to 12:15, they were running engines over there outside. I had to close all my windows because all the fumes come into the house. Now, this should not be zoned light industrial, which it is. This is improperly zoned for their use. They're using this international company in this place. And now they want to make it larger. This is really going to be a total insult to this neighborhood. And I'm very concerned for my health and the health and welfare of the children that live in this neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Laura, can you just give us your last name so we can put it as part of the record?
Yes, it's Tanzer, T-A-E-N-Z-E-R.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Council, we have anyone else in the public wish to speak?
I don't have anyone else. Just give me one moment.
Okay, board members, questions? Any questions from the board? Mr. Russo, can you address some of the concerns with Ms. Tanzer brought out? You're on mute, Mr. Russo. You have to unmute your mic.
Mr. Chairman, I did have some questions. I think I was on mute too.
Oh, okay, go ahead. We'll ask Mr. Smith first, then we'll go back to the council.
Ask Mr. Russo exactly what they're going to, they have 12 spots for outdoor parking, I guess, or overnight parking. but the main building is some sort of a warehouse. And I'd like to know exactly what the intentions are for use of that building in that site.
Okay, Mr. Russo?
I'll address both the concerns of Ms. Tanzer and Mr. Smith accordingly. First of all, in terms of the size of the project, the size of the facility that she's talking about is being proposed to be reduced in size. If you're looking at the site plan and you look at an aerial, the site itself goes over and extends almost into 1/3 of what is shown as site plan B. And the plan is to reduce it and bring it back and also make it more compact. In addition, it's also showing that there are proposed buffers that are being placed on site plan A, which is the existing CO'd certificate of occupancy for the automotive garage and office and bus facility, bus and motor vehicle facility that's there. So the improvements that are being proposed are to enhance the facility and bring it up to current code standards. As far as the other particular parcel of property, in response to Mr. Smith's request, we were proposing a warehouse office building. We do not have a tenant at this time. The real estate agent that is working with the family was looking to develop it for a maximum use as a warehouse office use, which is permitted zoning under L1. And the only parking is there is parking compliant, and there is a request for a special permit for overnight parking of registered vehicles and equipment. They're hopeful that they would get like an electrical supply company who would have employees who need their vehicles, and they could have them registered at the site and keep the trucks there, and employees can come in. The zoning is compliant, the parking is compliant, the drainage and the site improvements are all compliant to the code as of right.
So one of the questions I have, and we've had this raised many times in the past in other applications such as this, a lot of times, especially during the colder months, there's a tendency to leave these vehicles running to keep the engines warm, especially since they're all diesel. There's a 10-minute requirement. Is there something that we can do to monitor that, or is this something that your client is willing to put in place to ensure that none of the neighbors are getting excessive smoke or fumes from these diesel engines?
I can discuss that with the client, but I'm assuming you're referring to site plan A, not site plan B.
Yes, yes.
Because if you look at let's look at site plan B and just take it for the way it's been designed by J.R. Holtzmacher and Mr. Zellick. If you look at site plan B, you will see that there's a 50-foot setback requirement for the building from the street frontage. And you will also see that there's a 25-foot buffer being proposed on the east, south, west, and north side of the property. The registered vehicles, because this was a concern of Ms. Walsh when I talked to her, because her house is directly down Sands Lane in the cul-de-sac to the east. She wanted to know what she would be seeing on Sands Lane as to the proposed development site plan B. And as you can see, it's a driveway access, and any of the registered vehicles that would be kept overnight are behind a screened buffered fence as shown on the site plan. So for their purposes, they would only be looking at a building with a 25-foot buffer, and at best, the proposed plantings would screen the building from the street on Arthur Avenue. So site plan B is a benign permitted use as for the facility. As to site plan A, there is a buffer that's being shown on, that's being proposed, which would bring the existing site further inside to the property of 25 feet on the what would be the east side of the property, and there'd be a buffer on the south side. On the north side, because of the railroad and the existing building, there is no buffer, and as you know, Long Island Railroad is zoned A1 residence. There is no buffer proposed on the west side because the building's situated there, and in addition to that, that's the adjacent masonry yard that is there. As far as the truck or the motor vehicles, I can speak with the tenant, the landlord who has the tenancy there with his tenant and talk about minimizing the running of vehicles. And if you look at what would be C4, it shows you all the plantings that are being proposed along the 25-foot buffer area. So you can get a better visual of how the site would become further improved from what it exists. Everything, and if you look at the 35 photographs I gave you, many of which I think there's approximately 15 to 18 that are of the two properties, A and B, you can see that everything would be pulled back into the site based on the site plan. That's the only response I can give to you. The tenant is a month-to-month tenant at present. The tenant may vacate. But as the concern is as to the noise or the concern is as to fumes, I can speak with the property owners and ask them to address it with the tenant.
Any maintenance on the vehicles, that's done indoors? There's no outdoor maintenance, is there?
I was there the other day, actually yesterday, because I wanted to verify one of the other photographs that I had taken. And I did see that they had a truck that was outside in front of the building that they were working on, but it wasn't running. It was just a repair that was going on at that time. Most of the repairs that I saw were taking place inside the building. The office is run, and there were about 4 cars placed in front of the office. And I think the photographs I provided you with reflect that.
All right, any other questions by the board?
I have one more question, Mr. Chairman. It looks like on the aerial, there could be well over 20, 25 plus buses shown on the aerial. It looks like on the modified site plan, according to the stalls, they'd only have room for about 13. Is that correct?
Right at the present time, if you are looking at the certificate of occupancy, and I provided the zoning requirement documents that were approved by the zoning board and the planning board back in 1984, 85, with the COs issued in 85 and 86, there were more buses that reflect what your aerial reflects, and the buildings have the CO and the uses have the CO. So the new site plan that you have in front of you does reflect that there is more parking for vehicles, for repair, as well as buses, and that's modified from the prior site plan. But the prior site plan, which has COs, allows for all of the vehicles that are on the property at the present time.
No, but Mr. Russo, if you're looking at the site plan A with the elongated parking, it looks like there's only elongated parking for about 13 buses.
And that's reflected in the count that's shown on the revised site plan that's before the board. If you go to the note on C1, it is showing you in terms of what's required, and it's showing you the parking. It shows there's 11 for the office, 24 for the repair vehicle garage, and 48 per the ZBA, for a total of, when you look at what is provided, it shows previously that there was a greater number than provided as being proposed today. It shows 8, 3, and 34.
My point was,
C1.
my point was, Mr. Russo, that it looks like with the proposed site plan, you might have less than half of the buses that you have now on it in the proposed site plan, plus better screened.
Yes, and I'm not disagreeing with you. But again, I'm pointing out to you, until we get a building permit to do the site work, the existing facility has certificates of occupancy that allow its operation based on a site plan approval going back to 1984, 85, and 86. So right now, what we're trying to do and are proposing to do is improve the circumstances of the site plan. But we haven't gotten a building permit. We haven't brought it into compliance. We're showing you that as part of the land division, we're trying to seek the development of a site plan B and site plan A that we're proposing to bring it into greater compliance, even though we're grandfathered with the as of right use that's operating there presently.
Well,
And if there are code violations, as was presented to us just now by Mrs. Tanzinger, I will discuss those with the client and have them addressed. So I was not aware of that. The client didn't bring it to my attention. I've heard the concern and I will raise it with the tenant and the client, landlord.
Will the current tenant that's using it now be able to continue to do what they're doing with far less spaces for buses to be repaired?
I can't respond to that question because my answer to you again, if this board doesn't grant the land division and doesn't grant the site plans, the existing site is 3.57 acres and has certificates of occupancy for the use, which are grandfathered back to 1984 and 85. We don't have to do anything. We can continue operating the way it is as long as we're compliant with New York State fire building codes and environmental codes. I can go and address those concerns as raised today with the property owner as the landlord and have them brought to the attention of the tenant to comply. If the site plan is approved, the land division approved, we will file a land division map with the Office of the Suffolk County Clerk and the miscellaneous division at the county clerk's office. The land division will then take hold. At that point, the applicant must go and take out a building permit and file with the health department, the water authority, etc. We've done tests with the health department and we've come to find out there are no violations as to any sort of contamination on the site, which was represented to us by J.R. Holtzmacher after their review and discussion. We know that public water has to be brought to the facility because they have private wells at site plan A. So we have to apply to the water authority to bring public water there. If we don't continue and proceed with getting a building permit for the site, the existing operation is allowed to continue at the present time because the certificates of occupancy for the two buildings and the uses.
Any other questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman, this is Board Member Pete Zarcone. I have a couple of questions. It's in regards to the special permit for the accessory outdoor and overnight parking. That's not for storage of vehicles, that's for overnight parking?
That's outdoor overnight parking of registered licensed vehicles. There's not equipment. There's no request for equipment. There's no request for outdoor storage of materials because when we had our initial discussions with the planning division, if we were seeking outdoor storage of any materials, we had to provide a list and comply with the zoning requirements pursuant to the special permit of the board. As to this particular application, all the special permit requirements under Chapter 85 for the outdoor storage of registered and overnight parking of registered vehicles are complied with as to items 1 through 14. If you would like, I can go through each point, but at this point, having reviewed the staff comments, I thought that we were beyond that. But if you would like me to go through those.
No, what I'd
points,
like to just answer one more question. If I heard you correctly, you're looking for the special permit so you can draw another tenant.
Yes.
That's not necessary for your organization, the business right now at hand.
No,
But
it's not.
Okay, the other part that I want to ask you, just so I understand it, the special permit for accessory outdoor, what does that include? Is it?
For
separate
which
from the-
site plan, sir?
I'm looking at,
Is it site plan B?
yeah, site plan B, yes.
Site plan B, that's the special permit for the registered overnight parking of vehicles. And if you look at the site plan, the area which they are to be stored is in the area behind the fence and the street lining in the middle of the site, so that if you're looking at the site from the street, you cannot see them. They're behind the fence and the plantings that are proposed there.
All right, I understand the registered
Middle row,
parking.
it's the middle row it's the middle row, and I believe there are eight spaces there, or maybe 13. How many? Mr. Zelik's count. There are 12 spaces there in the middle of the site plan.
Okay, thank you very much.
And those are screened by a fence in front of them so that if they're parked and facing east, you can't see them from the street. And there are plantings. If you go back to the landscape plan for that particular site plan, which I believe is C4, you can see on C4 that there's plantings that are being proposed and met with the approval from the planning staff with recommendations. And that is the third set of row of plantings. If you go from the street between the buffer, the plantings, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of plantings that are proposed in addition to the buffer and fencing. Oh, you
Right.
have it in front of you. Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at it on the conference table here. I apologize.
No, that's fine. All right, thank you very much.
Questions by the board?
No.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close public hearings on items number 7, 8, and 9.
Motion to close by Ms. Dunn,
Second, Richard Smith.
second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone,
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly,
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis,
Aye.
Mr. Rose,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Counselor.
Did the person for Crest come?
That's what I was just gonna ask. Item number 6.
Just want to know which
No,
one do you want me
I
to
have
open?
I have no one who has indicated they're here for number 6.
Okay, so I'll move on to number 11, Mariano Rivera.
Okay.
10,
Yeah.
number
Number
10.
10.
I'm sorry,
10.
10, sorry, Brixmar. Okay.
The applicant present on that?
Yes.
Property is located on the northwest side of Nesconset Highway, New York State Route 347, on the south side of Norwood Avenue, 160 feet east of Fox Run Court in Port Jeff Station. Its Zone J Business 2 is 11.98 acres, and the building area is 7,000 square feet. Proposal is construct a pad site consisting of an office and a bank with accessory drive-through within the existing area of the Nesconset Shopping Center with associated site improvements involving variances from the land development standards and parking, and a special permit for the drive-through to the bank. They did receive BZA variances for a front yard setback, FAR, detached sign height, and area. There are 10 staff recommendations, last dated 10/23/2020.
Thank you, Commissioners. The applicant present, Counselor?
Yes, I have a few people on.
Okay. Who are we talking to first?
Hello, Chairman. Philip Butler here for Brixmor, the applicant.
Mr. Butler, you counsel?
I am, sir.
Okay. Go ahead. Have you received a copy of the staff recommendations?
Yes, Chairman, we have.
Okay. You want to go over the application with the board and the public?
Sure. I'm going to keep my statement brief because I know there's probably going to be questions about parking and traffic. So again, Philip Butler with the law firm Farrell Fritz for the applicant. I'm joined here this evening by Ruben Twersky, who represents Brixmor. Also with us are Susie Silverstein and Aaron McTay, who are with VHB, our consultants. So the Nesconset Shopping Center is located at 4900 Nesconset Highway. It's at the intersection with Norwood Avenue. The existing shopping center is roughly 123,000 square feet with surrounding parking areas containing 599 parking spaces. Anyone who's familiar with the site knows that it is the veritable sea of parking with very minimal landscaping. So the proposal before the board is for the creation of a new pad site in the center of the parking lot fronting on Nesconset Highway. It's a 7,000 square foot building, which will be split into 2 separate units, one of which will be a proposed bank with the drive-through, the other which is intended to be an Aspen retail dental storefront. We need site plan approval and a special permit with various relief for landscaping, buffers, and parking. On that note, it should be kept in mind that most, if not all, of the nonconformities that we're seeking relief from this board for with the exception of the parking spaces and the queuing for the proposed drive-through, are existing conditions that will either be improved or remain exactly the same as part of this project. As was noted, we were before the zoning board back in May and received variances for the project for the front yard setback on Wisconsin Highway, floor area ratio, and the signage height. I apologize to the board. We got very late in the evening today, updated elevations. They are visually the same, but they do provide the material tags for the exterior of the proposed structure. We have already turned those in by email to Amy Moody and the board secretary, but I will note for the board that the materials composition is a brick and concrete block building with a flat roof and some standing seam metal roofing over the bank portion of the building. Some highlights of the project that I just want to note for the board. The project calls for the addition of 59 trees in the area adjacent to Wisconsin Highway, in addition to several hundred plantings of shrubs, grasses, and perennials. This will be a marked improvement over the relative lack of landscaping that is there now. We're also going to be eliminating an interior access drive that runs the entire length of the property adjacent to Wisconsin Highway. The town viewed this as a safety issue. We agreed. So obviously, as you can see from what's in front of you, that access driveway is going to be eliminated and converted to parking. The far west driveway, which is currently a right in and a right out, is going to be changed to a right out only. And this was at the very recent request of the DOT out of concern for people leaving the property and trying to go across the lanes of Wisconsin Highway to make the left to go eastbound. We're also adding new drainage structures throughout the interior of the site to join the new pad site. And finally, the lighting on the interior parking lot is going to be lowered to come into compliance with the town standards. Anecdotally, we think this is a good project for the reason I already mentioned. The site as it presently exists is the sea of parking that we want to get rid of. The center of the parking lot where this pad site is going to be located is consistently underutilized. So this will be an opportunity to turn it into a beneficial use for the applicant, and also as part of that, increase the visual appeal of the shopping center. In addition, the proposed uses that we're putting there are not high intensity uses, so we don't think this is going to impact parking or traffic in any appreciable way, but either on the site or off the site. And frankly, the creation of these pad sites is really what we're seeing in the town, and also just Long Island in general, with these overparked older shopping centers that don't need all of the parking that they were originally required to provide. As I mentioned, we did receive the staff recommendations. I spoke with my client, and we do not have any objection to those recommendations at this time. So if the board would like to hear more about parking and traffic, again, we have Aaron Makte of VHB on with us. So he will be happy to go through his presentation. He's prepared to speak if the board would like him to do so. Otherwise, we are happy to entertain any questions the board has.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Butler, you said something about the queuing, that was an existing condition, and I'm confused by that because isn't this a proposed bank? So how could it be existing?
No. I said the parking number of parking stalls and the queuing are the two exceptions to that. The other.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Councilor Reed.
Oh, sorry. If I may also note for the record, as part of the zoning board process, we did reach out to the Port Jefferson Terryville Civic Association. We had a meeting with them. They put in a letter to the zoning board to which we responded. I believe it is in your materials. As part of this process, I contacted Sal Pitti, the president of the Civic Association, to let him know we were coming before this board. He indicated to me that as long as the application was materially the same as what was in front of the zoning board, they had nothing further to add.
All right, thank you. Is that a single drive-through on the bank side, or is that multiple, double?
It's a single drive-through with a pass-through lane, I believe. Is that? I'll defer to Susie and Aaron on that one.
Okay, so you have the escape lane to the east on that as well. All right, Councilor Reed, is there any in the public in the chat room? No.
Nope, I have no one from the public.
Did they recalculate the FAR on this project as far as the parking stalls, how it impacts that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
is it going to require any additional parking variances with this pad site on the overall site in general?
Yes, that is part of this, this request is a relaxation of the parking. So there's presently 599 parking spaces. As part of the project, we'd be required to have 743, and we are proposing 574. But if you'd like to hear about the parking, again, Aaron is prepared to speak to that. We believe the parking will be more than adequate for the site, even with the build out of the pad site.
Well, let me go to the board, see who has questions first before we do that.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question. This is Karen Dunn. On the parking variance 85-850, it says amount of loading 6 required, 1 provided. Can you just speak to that?
Right, so the entire rear of the site actually has loading zones back there. I think that is specific to the location within the zone of disturbance, which is the southern area of the site, where we're going to be putting the pad site and then the parking and landscaping. So in that area, there's no loading zone proposed. But if you count the loading zones behind the actual shopping center, I believe there are more than 6.
Ms. Dunn? Are you on mute? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Other questions by the board?
I have a few questions, Mr. Chairman. This is
Mr.
Richard
Smith.
Smith. First question, are the elevations that you submitted today different from the ones that we have with the application right now?
Only with respect to the tags that were added this afternoon, and unfortunately, we just got that to the board minutes before the hearing, so I don't have it in front of you. If you show me what is in your materials, I can tell you exactly.
Yeah, well, you kind of said something with mansard and flat roofs, but those elevations don't really look like they're different than that. I didn't think the elevations that we had were what you described, so that's why I asked the question.
Okay, right, so it's a flat roof with a parapet, and the mansard I mentioned is that black portion of the roof over the Bethpage bank.
Right, and it's kind of like a corner tower with a hip roof on it and that sort of thing too.
Right, and that's going to be standing seam metal roofing, all that black roofing.
Okay, my second comment is that having lived in this area and driving in this area for longer than I'd like to say, coming eastbound on Route 347 and making a left-hand turn to the shopping center is an absolute disaster. I've witnessed accidents and a million near accidents coming in because it's such a short space that not too many cars can get there before they're going, and it gets backed up. And then all of a sudden you've got cars that are actually hanging into the westbound lane of Route 347. And I don't see what you've done here is that much of an improvement on that.
So I think I'm going to defer to our traffic engineer on this, because I know there are some modifications that are going to be made to that entryway, even from what is shown here, because I think they're going to want, the DOT is going to want the applicant to straighten that entry point out a bit more and bring it up to current DOT standards. But Aaron, if you're on, can you address that comment?
Before you speak, can you put them on the screen? Do we see Aaron?
I'm here if you can see me.
Okay, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Okay, sir, you want to address some of those concerns?
Yeah, absolutely. Just for the record, Aaron McTay with VHB, a member of the Transportation Division in our Long Island office situated in Hauppauge. We do have, they were just up on the screen a short while ago. This application was submitted to the New York State DOT, their Perm 33 application process, which governs site access. One of the comments they had was associated with sort of meeting the state roadway at 90-degree angles, which is something that the design used see on the screen right now is going to be modified to try and bring them more into accordance with. In doing that, it should be able to help facilitate, a more direct access as traffic is coming in, going from the eastbound left at that central site access driveway. So that should help to improve that condition. I will note we didn't see a significant, the analysis we prepared didn't see significant delays associated with that, but certainly the design that you see and the further design associated with the New York State DOT will help to improve that somehow.
Thank you. Commissioner, we have that as part of the conditions and our recommendations. I don't have them in front of me.
I think they're making a reference to something that is a new comment.
Well, the actual comment is from the New York State DOT.
Right.
I believe their comment letter was dated October 23rd.
Yep.
It was forwarded to us from you directly. Mm-hmm. So, we've just sort of been able to digest those comments. We obviously haven't been able to update the plans to reflect it in time for this hearing. I don't think that was going to be possible. It's not going to, formatively change the application. It doesn't change the nature of the site access. But it is something that's going to be incorporated, and I do think it'll help to improve the left in coming from the eastbound direction.
It's still pretty close. I see you broke up instead of the straight through that happens now. It's a little bit further set back, and you've broken it up by, if you're coming westbound within the parking lot, you have to come to a stop, I guess, make a right and then a left to continue in that parking lot. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. As it presently exists, the site sort of acts as a cut through, and it's almost like a third westbound lane or a fourth westbound lane in some cases on 347, which people kind of use the property in an inappropriate way in order to avoid some traffic. So that was identified through our conversations with the town. And that's something I think even Susie can probably, Ms. Silverstein can probably speak a little bit more in detail, but it was identified as something that was undesirable. It was asked for us to take a look at that. And ultimately the design you're looking at where it has that jog, it has some traffic control along that main drive aisle on site, was designed specifically to help prevent some of that cut through traffic and create a safer condition.
I'm sorry. Once you get to, like, if you're traveling eastbound, then you have to make sort of a weird cut across and either go straight down or make a left and go straight to the north again in order to access the bank that's on the west side of this, correct? It's a very roundabout way now that you have to go to get to where that bank is.
Yes, the from the eastbound direction, the site circulation would require you to do so. I will mention that banks, especially nowadays, as they're becoming a little bit less popular of a use, become more of a pass-by use, which would be, a use that draws from the traffic that's more conveniently passing the site. So I would think that it probably is going to tend to generate more traffic from the westbound flow, which has an easier course of action. But there is in order to help facilitate that on-site circulation to prevent the cut through, it does have a little bit of a roundabout to go up, to go east, and then south in order to access the drive-through lane, for example, from that central driveway.
It's sort of it's not really a dead end, but again, if you're traveling that way, you have to then go north before you go back the other way. I just think that there's already a lot of congestion right you got in there as you get into the site from that particular entrance. And I've witnessed so much of it. I've been involved in these near accidents myself traveling there. And I'm just not convinced right now that this is a solution for it, especially since you're putting more structures there that could potentially exacerbate the situation.
Understood. I mean, there is a degree of traffic that's entering that driveway. It's not operating with, unreasonable levels of delay. Our traffic study was submitted and was looked at. It did include that driveway, and I don't think we got any comments regarding that particular item back from either the town or the New York State DOT. But it did take a look at that condition, and it didn't identify something as operating in a way based on the newly site generated traffic that was going to create any new problems. I understand the level of activity isn't precisely speaking low, but I do think that we're helping to improve it in terms of adding the improvements that are being directed by the New York State DOT, and ultimately, adding this jog and sort of creating this circulation pattern. As I mentioned, this was something that was done in conversations with the town, even in conversations with, I think, members of the Civic Society. Mr. Butler, I think, can probably speak to that a little bit more, because the cut through traffic was another big problem that was identified, and it was something that was specifically, I think, requested for us to try and remedy with this new design. So even though that jog creates that other issue with that site driveway, I think it's desirable in terms of dissuading people from using this site in a manner that they shouldn't at all.
And forgive me if I'm saying this just a different way, but the configuration of that driveway was something that was created in discussion with the town. And the idea, if I'm not mistaken, is to change the way that works, in that now when cars make either the right in from westbound 347 or the left from the eastbound side, they'll be able to go straight into the site, because one, you'll no longer have that direct drive access that goes straight across, which was causing a lot of problems. But also, we eliminated originally, when you came in, there was an immediate right-hand turn, so you could go directly in front of the bank. But that would require vehicles coming onto the site to slow down to make that right, to go directly to the bank. And we eliminated that out of the safety concern that vehicles would have to slow down instead of going directly into the core interior of the site and then slowing down and then redirecting to wherever it was specifically on the site that they would go. So I think, again, sorry.
Absolutely. What you're saying, and what I think what we're both saying, is that this is sort of providing a throat to receive, the cars on site, that whereas normally they'd just be joining an active lane of traffic that's also experiencing a measure of that cut through traffic just straight across the front of the site. So I do think that this provides some significant relief from that.
Right, because there was that 2-lane access way going both directions, which, I mean, that existing condition is a nightmare to drive across 3 lanes of traffic and then have to worry about another 2 lanes of traffic once you get onto the interior of the property. So again, it's something that's been looked at very carefully out of that very same concern, Mr. Smith. So we think this is a good accommodation. And we do have on the westbound side, there is an access point farther to the east. So, you do have traffic going into the site. If they're going to go to the bank, they're going to be probably going into that access point and not the middle one that we've been discussing. So, I mean, there shouldn't be as much traffic as maybe you're thinking going through that one driveway. If you're talking about people going to the bank or even the medical office.
You can only get into that access point if you're westbound for that.
No, I know that. I'm talking about if there are westbound vehicles going into the site.
What would you say the amount of cars? Would you say maybe about 4 car lengths before you get, as you're coming into the entrance we're talking about 4 car lengths before you get to that first intersection there where the cars have to kind of break off to the right before somebody would be sticking into 347 if it got backed up?
Well, you can't make a right when you come into the site. You have to go all the way past the building to make the first right.
But cars are coming in from the right side.
Yes, but there's going to be a stop sign there as well. an interior stop sign.
Okay, so what would you say that distance before you get to that intersection, before you get to a point where cars are sticking out into the road?
Aaron, do you have a rough estimate of that, or Susie?
I don't have a rough estimate. Susie might be able to.
The dimension from the property line to where it
Excuse
first,
me, wait 1 second.
Sure.
Susie, can you raise your right hand, please?
yes,
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Okay, and it's Susanna Silverstein?
Yes, Susanna Silverstein of VHB Engineering at 100 Motor Parkway, Hauppauge, New York. I'm the project manager in the land development department on this project. So just approximately looking at this from where that driveway intersects the property line to where it first meets that intersection with that one-way drive aisle would be approximately 45 feet. So that would be, you know, several car lengths. Right, compared to the existing condition right now, which is 0 car lengths before it intersects the drive aisle.
And as Mr. Butler mentioned, you know, the traffic control is such that the from both the westbound on site, from both the westbound and the eastbound, it would be stopped versus allowing the traffic, you know, straight into the site to avoid that potential backup conflict. I think that's something that the New York State DOT would also require as well.
Right, so from the property line to that intersection Mr. Smith is referencing, it's 45 feet, but to the actual pavement of 347, there's also another 10 to 15 feet with the driveway apron. So you do have
closer to 4 car lengths.
Yeah.
Right, and there's also a shoulder in the road there as well.
How much different is this going to look if it comes in 90 degrees as opposed to what you're showing here? So there's going to be a revision to this, correct?
The intent is the main issue, as I understand it, and Aaron can speak to this, is that they need to update the configuration of that driveway, but I think it's the angle of it that is going to be changing most materially. But Aaron, can you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about mostly roadway plans with regards to the state right of way. So it wouldn't change significantly. It would kind of just be slightly maybe tilted sort of a couple of degrees in order to bring it into there's just this ever so slight slant to it. The driveway itself off of the state highway. So everything will probably just be tilted a couple degrees.
I'd kind of like to see that, perhaps. Well,
Aaron, are you working with the state right now as far as that modification on that ingress?
Yeah, like I said, we received those comments just a couple weeks ago. We really only started digesting them last week. So, you know, we know that we have to address them directly with the DOT. We have to speak to them before they'll provide their work permit for the work we need to do.
I think what Mr. Smith is alluding to, he'd like to see it. So I was just wondering if we do close this hearing, if we leave it open for 10 days to receive something, is that something that you could supply to the board prior to the?
I don't think the roadway improvement plans that we have to prepare for the state would be completed within 10 days.
Commissioner, this would be something we can condition it upon, correct?
Well, it sounds like Mr. Smith wants to see how that reconfiguration on site will be impacted by the DOT plans.
No, I understand. That's why I was asking how long it might take, but
So
it's not going to be done.
We have
within
another
10 days.
meeting December 7th. Could you get it done for that meeting?
We could try.
Dealing with the state.
Yeah, I mean, getting a response back from the state by December 7th will certainly not be possible.
Beth, can I ask a question? What are the conditions of approval say?
We don't have a condition right now to revise the plans to reflect the DOT comments.
But by final site plan, they would have to, well, why don't we put that in? Would that be sufficient that there's a condition of, I mean, obviously they have to comply, get a permit. So, it, you know.
I don't know if that's gonna make it better or worse. I'm
Well,
trying to visualize it.
If the DET's regulations are current, well, we're bringing it up to speed with the current DEC standards. So in theory, it's going to make it better. You know, I understand you're wanting to see it, but again, I'm thinking that first and foremost, the location of the curb cut is not changing. That first and foremost, I think is most important. The configuration is only going to change in that it's going to be straightened out. It's not going to be a perfect 90-degree angle, but it's going to be closer to that. And that's really, from what I understand, the only change that we're going to be doing to that particular location. So, you know, if the board is inclined to at least close the hearing and reserve, you know, we can get an updated plan to the board as soon as possible. And in the interim, maybe a decision can be prepared. But I think in terms of, unless there's, you know, any reason to hold the hearing open, I would ask that at least the hearing be closed so we can move forward to you know, possibly get a decision the next time we're before the board and you know, the comment's been addressed.
We can't take additional information after the hearing is closed.
Well, we can if we had a timeline as far as leaving it open for written comments. That's why we asked about the 10 days, which doesn't sound feasible when you're trying to do this with the state. And then Councilor Rate made a suggestion, but again, it's all dependent on how it comes back. You want to physically see it as well as the rest of the board. The only thing we could do is, if we do close is, again, leave it for a written comment. And I don't know, Commissioner, could we go beyond the 10-day written comment period?
You can go whatever time you
Yeah.
want.
So, I mean,
The other option, I was just trying to draft a condition, provide a detailed plan for the center driveway to reflect New York State DOT comments. Would that, what do you think?
that was the condition I asked originally, if we can
Yeah.
make a condition upon something like that.
You think that would cover it, Counselor? If we add that to 8 as an F?
I think that it would, because my concern is we really don't have jurisdiction. You know, the DOT is going to make this determination, and they're going to determine where the curb cut is. They're going to determine the access. So even if we didn't like their comments, we don't have a lot of say. We don't have jurisdiction over it. So I just didn't want to hold up the application in that regard.
All right, so
with all due respect, once the DOT changes that, then they are going to have to make internal changes to meet up with it. That is within our jurisdiction.
Well, when you say internal changes, the changes we made to that ingress, what internal changes are you suggesting?
The way that it's positioned right now, it's going to lean to the west. Okay. Once it leans to the west, it's going to push it to the left or the west of the aisle that's already been created. It's going to make a more acute angle coming in from the driveway. Whatever is around those intersection points of it and the connection with the rest of the parking lot is going to have to be changed to make it conform with what DOT wants.
So I think one thing that's important to note is that we do have to maintain an alignment between that left turn lane into the shopping center and that entry drive aisle. So things aren't going to shift so radically from the current location. They're proposing to keep the apron in its current location, and it would just be some curbing there that would adjust slightly to help that alignment. And we also believe that because we only just received these comments, that there is still an opportunity for us to discuss this with DOT and potentially maintain the alignment as it's shown on the plan if they agree that this is more beneficial.
I think the best course of action here is to hold this open to December 7th, so that it gives you ample time, and then we can see everything before we start putting conditions on it.
Mr. Chairman, I have an unrelated question to this issue. Just looking back to the loading stalls from before, it doesn't appear that either the dentist or the bank have loading stalls. So how would those two pads get any deliveries?
Aaron, do you want to respond to that?
I'm sorry, I had some background noise.
I can respond. So right now, since the drive-through is being used for bank operations, banks are obviously not operating 24 hours a day, and so there's an opportunity for that drive-through lane to be utilized for drop-off and deliveries during off-business hours.
What about-
Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
That's for the bank, but what about the dentist office?
There's ramps that'll provide access to both buildings. It's only about a 50-foot walk from that lane into the entrance for the other office. Also, these are low-intensity uses that don't have giant trucks making huge deliveries. So even if they needed to come into a parking stall or pull up on the other side of the drive aisle during off-business hours, that would be something they could do as well.
Gentlemen, is December, I know everybody wants to be in the ground prior to winter months, but I think if we can move this to December 7th, just leave it open to address that concern. If there's any possible way of dealing with DOT in that time frame, I think it would be beneficial to everybody concerned.
Oh.
Excuse me? Did anyone comment?
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible for the applicants to, within 10 days, at least give us some sort of a sketch or something as to what that might look like one way or the other?
Well, I'm willing to do anything. I mean, I'm willing to close it and put it on and leave it open for comment for 10 or 15 days to give them ample time. But again, that's not going to be sufficient time to get a final say-so from DOT from what I'm hearing. But if you're satisfied with their addressing or going to be working with the DOT, if that addresses your concerns, then that would be fine as well. We can close it, leave it for written comment so you can take a look at that.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Because then if you see it, Mr. Smith, if you see it and then you have other concerns, that's not going to make it, we're not going to be able to address it if we close it. Could we move it to the 7th, December 7th? In the meantime, it doesn't sound like we're looking for any detail, but a sketch of what internally that's going to look like if you straighten it out pursuant to whatever the DOT has suggested at the moment. And then come December 7th, if there's nothing else to say, we'll close the hearing. But in the meantime, you can give a concept sketch of what it might look like for the board to review.
That's what I was asking.
Okay, so what, we're not asking for a detailed sketch, but just some kind of concept sketch of what it is that addresses the DOT comments. We can put it over to December 7th. And as I said, if we have no more comments, we'll open the hearing and we'll close it.
Councilor Butler?
Thank you, Councilor, for your recommendation. I'm going to defer. Aaron, do you think that's a reasonable time frame to get them something? I just want to reiterate that the objective is to keep that entry point the way it is. So ideally, that is going to be what it's going to look like. So I suppose what we would come up with is what we would potentially present to the DOT if they decide that they do not want to keep the access point as presented. So Aaron, do you think before the 7th we can get something conceptually and try to float it by the DOT and see if we can get some kind of response?
I think that we could by the 7th, we could have an opportunity to have a dialogue with them and to try to have some kind of conceptual design. I will say that the layout will probably be only very slightly modified from what you're seeing right now. Maybe the discussion maybe sounded like it was more significant, but that central driveway is only slightly off of 90 degrees. So they're not looking for at the site access itself at the property line. So they're not looking for us to really significantly realign that or to move it in either westerly or easterly. So it's virtually impossible for me to envision any response to the DOT requiring us to reconfigure any parking, any on-site drive aisles, or even have to, you see there's a proposed freestanding sign depicted. So,
and that's okay. Then that's the answer. Then that's what we'll know by December 7th. The board will have. I just don't know
if the DOT will have an opportunity to sign off on it.
The original intent here is whatever we're looking at right now. DOT wants the conceptual rendering. That's what we want to see. So, as it stands right now, DOT is not going to accept this. My understanding, is that correct?
Well, it was just a comment from the DOT.
Okay, so if you can address the comment to DOT and give us that as a rendering or conceptual drawing by December 7th. Because if they want to do something and it's good with them, then we're good to go. If it's no good with them, then there's no reason to even close this at this point. So I would rather leave it on to December 7th. At least allow the board to see what you're proposing to the DOT so that we're all on the same page when push comes to shove. If they say, okay, the new rendering is what they're going with, is fine, then we'll be fine with it. If they say, no, it's no good, then there's no sense even closing this because it's going to be denied.
Right, and so what's going to go to the DOT is this current plan that you see. So what we're going to end up preparing is what would be essentially a plan B if the DOT says, no, we're not satisfied with what you've configured.
That's good.
Yes.
I think that's good.
Is there any possibility that as long as this one issue is resolved satisfactory to the board, is there any possibility that we will have a decision for December 7th?
Don't get pushy now.
That's always a possibility.
Yeah, it's a good possibility. I think you addressed the concerns with the loading ramps. I just think this is if we get past this point, then we can make a decision on December 7th.
Okay.
All right.
And when you do that sketch, if you could show like typical vehicles in it, showing the length of the vehicles and whatever, kind of an illustration of how those intersections are going to work, that would be also helpful.
Okay, and I believe we probably have a traffic circulation plan, so we can definitely provide that. But again, the pipeline that we described earlier to get cars directly onto the site and into the interior before they have to make any turns, that is going to remain no matter what. So rest assured that the improvement to cars entering the site is going to be there either way.
Will there also be no right turn as you come in? You won't be able to make a right-hand turn to go east once you come in that entrance?
No, once you come in, you have to go straight, go past the proposed pad site, and the first opportunity to make a right is after you've already gone past the building.
Can you make a left coming out of that intersection that's to the east?
No, it's a right only with a stop sign.
Okay, well, listen, I hate to do this. Having witnessed this and been around for so many years seeing this, I would really like that detail. I would appreciate it.
We will get to work on that.
Thank you very much.
All right, so can I have a motion to hold this hearing open to a date certain of December 7th, 2020?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to hold this matter open to a date certain, December 7th.
Motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Ms. Dunn. Mr. Zarcone,
I vote aye.
Mrs. Kelly,
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis,
Aye.
Mr. Rose,
Aye.
chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
We'll see you on
Commissioner.
December 7th.
Thank you, council. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Item number 11, Mariano Rivera Honda at Port Jeff Station.
The property is located at 1435 New York State Route 112 on the northeast corner of Route 112 and Jefferson Avenue, the west side of Washington Avenue in Port Jefferson Station. It's Zone J Business 5, and the area is 8.10 acres. The building area is 6,400 square feet with a proposal of 37,595 for a total of 44,000. The proposal is to construct an automobile sales and service facility with associated site improvements, variances, and a relief of covenant. Staff recommends approval subject to 10 conditions, last dated 10/23/2020, and the variances are for a landscaped strip between parallel rows of parking, prohibited parking in the front yard.
Thank you, Commissioner. Counselor, is there anyone, is the applicant?
Yes, I have Don King here and some others.
Okay, Commissioner, can you just for, all right, 1 second, sir. Commissioner, can you put the staff recommendations up if anyone in the public so they can see them as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. King.
It's up.
Mr. King, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, are you a counselor?
Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kingsport, New York, attorney for Mariano Rivera and his partners.
Okay, sir.
This was approved by the town board, 7-0. We met with the neighbors, Mariano did, and his partners. We reduced the size of the building from 50,000 square feet to 35,000 square feet. We answered and addressed all of the questions raised by the neighbors and the civics, and I believe that they are satisfied with this application. I have no indication otherwise.
Counselor, you received a copy of the staff recommendations?
Yes.
And do you have any questions on any of those? You agree with them?
No, I'd just like you to approve this application if you could.
There was, does the current site plan depict an ingress or egress on Washington Avenue, or does the site plan not have that? As someone had asked.
I don't have the site plan in front of me.
Opening it. The site plan does not have an entrance across from Bates Drive, which is the entrance to the PRC.
Who is requesting that?
Traffic safety had requested it, but I know the community had asked for it to remain closed, and this application, as well as the previous applications we had reviewed. And so the staff recommendation is to approve the plan as you see it.
Okay. Council, do we have anyone else in the public who wishes to respond on this application?
I don't have anyone here from the public to speak.
Ms. McCallion, did you receive any letters from the public in reference to this application?
I believe I received one this afternoon. I think it was at 4:23 after the meeting started.
Was that the one with the covenant with the 32% clearing limit?
I'm looking right now. I'm looking on my email. No, I didn't receive it. That was for Fuco.
Okay.
We did receive a comment from a gentleman regarding the 32%.
Okay.
I know I saw it.
Thought I read something, that's why I was asking. Okay, there's no one in the public wishing to speak. Any board members have questions on this application? Can we also put up the elevations?
Yes.
Just a couple, Mr. Chairman. It looks like that we have a 25-foot natural and undisturbed buffer on all the edges of the lot that abut residential properties.
Correct.
That's correct?
I think so. That's what I thought I saw earlier. I don't have these in front of me right
I
now.
was sort of asking their representation. And then on top of that, you have the whole length of Washington Avenue.
I'll open up the site plan again for you, Mr. Smith.
I've got it right in front of me,
Okay.
Beth. And it looks like they're only asking for 2 variances. One would be a 10-foot landscape strip between the parallel rows of parking and the parking in the required front yard. Instead of 50 feet, it's 25 feet off of, I guess, that would be Route 25A and I guess Port Jefferson Avenue.
25A.
112.
Yeah, 112.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But for the most part, this is almost an as of right application.
But he was very happy. We answered every question of the civics and the neighbors. And when they raised something, we addressed it. As I said, reduce the size of the building and increase the size of the buffers.
Okay.
Looks like you've done a good job with it.
Any other questions by the board?
No.
All right, may I have a motion, please?
Wait, can I just ask a question? No, just to clarify, Beth, they have to get zoning board approval? That's correct? There's a zoning board hearing pending?
No.
No, we were waiting for the town clerk to have the zoning made effective.
Okay.
So when we close, if the board is so inclined to close the hearing, they need to close the public portion, but leave it open to receive proof of effect, that the zoning was made effective from the town clerk.
Correct. Do you have a time for that, Beth?
It's all about the newspaper and advertising it, so I would just leave it open for receipt of that.
Okay, any other questions by the board? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close this public hearing, but leave the hearing open till we get, what is it we're actually looking for, Beth?
Effective.
The effective date of the change of zone.
The effective date of the change of zone.
Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Smith,
Second,
second by Ms. Dunn. Mr. Zarcone,
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly,
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis,
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
The chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you very much.
Item number 12, 520 William Floyd LLC at Shirley. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I have Mr. O'Brien here. I'm bringing him in right now.
Counselor, did the item application for number 6 ever show up at all? Or?
No, I have no one for number 6.
Can open the elevations on this one. I think it's easier. Okay. The application is located at 520 William Floyd Parkway in Shirley. It's Zone J Business 5, and it's 0.433 of an acre. The application is to construct a gasoline station and a 1,750 square foot convenience store. Special permit for the gasoline station and convenience store were granted by the town board on January 21st, 2021. The board wishes to approve the application. We have 10 staff recommendations, last dated October 8th, 2020.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Is the applicant present?
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the board, Commissioner Riley, counsel, Kevin O'Brien from O'Brien Law PC on behalf of the applicant. As noted, we had appeared before the town board in connection with the application for the appropriate permits to operate a motor vehicle fueling station together with a convenience store. The site had previously been operated as a gasoline service station, but we were completely raising and rebuilding the location. As a matter of fact, the structures that are proposed were less than the structures that had previously existed. We did, as the commissioner had indicated, receive approval from the town board on January 31st, 2019, and that decision was made effective on October 9th, 2020. And I guess part of the, there were a couple of conditions set forth as part of the town board resolution, one of which was getting the Pine Barren credits, which is a little bit tricky, but we got that. So everything is effective. And there are certain covenants as well, which all have been agreed to. Subsequently, we had appeared before the Zoning Board of Appeals and received approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals on May 1st, 2020. I did review the proposed staff recommendations, I believe, that were last revised on November 6, 2020. I would note that all appropriate posting was taken care of, and the affidavit of posting and affidavit of mailing was submitted to the board. One of the conditions, I think it was number 6, had referred to addressing some departmental comments. According to our engineers, those plans had been submitted addressing those comments. I know one of the most recent comments, and it was part of the conditions from the town board approval, and forgive me if I don't use the proper terminology, but sort of like a 4-sided front, something along those, something similar to that, which I believe was requested at the town board level. And recent elevations were submitted reflecting the 4-sided front. My client did question, and I guess, I just, one of the aspects, I mean, I know there are certain fees, we have submitted fees or additional fees that have to be submitted. I think maybe there was a little bit of sticker shock when they saw the $39,000, $551 inspection fee. And I know we did obtain the Pine Barren credits, but that I know one really has nothing to do with the other. That fee, is that just a standard fee based upon a sort of mechanical calculation, or is
The fees are set by the town board and they're calculated by the planning department, but those, there's no, those are set by the town board.
It's based upon the amount of site work that's proposed based on your plan. So if you
Yep.
think there's an issue, perhaps we miscalculated, just reach out to us, and we can double check it.
Can we go back to the elevations? I have a question.
Sure.
The left side, the east elevation, is actually fronting on William Floyd Parkway. Am I correct?
Correct.
Well, that's no good. It's the north elevation is the front of the building, which is actually facing, I don't know the name of the street, maybe Essex Circle or the roundabout there. But I would think that what's showing as the north elevation should actually be the east elevation. If you're driving north or south on William Floyd Parkway, what you're actually looking at is the side of a building.
That's correct, but the way the building is located, the location of the building sort of backs upon Essex. So the front of the building, if you see the parking spaces, which are in the front, which would be on the north side of the existing building, that's where your entrance is, and obviously it's the wider portion of the building. So the side of the building, we had gone through, because the site is a little bit of an unusual shaped site, but in order to address on-site traffic circulation, off-site traffic circulation, front of the building is where the cursor is being located. So the front entry, there's no entry on the side, which would be quote unquote William Floyd Parkway. And that is
right, but if you're on William Floyd Parkway, you're still looking at the side of a building, regardless where the entrance is. There's one curb cut ingress egress on William Floyd and one on Austin Circle. Is that right?
Correct. Correct.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like though it's somewhat hidden because there's plantings. I don't know if those are higher plantings that would hide some of that elevation.
No, I don't see how. I mean, I drive past there every day. I mean, the original building that was there was really in bad shape, but the front of the building was actually facing east.
It was a much larger building. You're correct, and it was in that direction. But once again, to put the tanks on the location, the pump islands, the canopy, this was the appropriate location for the building. We had worked with planning extensively on the site plan as currently proposed.
Okay, well, I'm not questioning the location or the entrance. I'm questioning, can't you do something at the building, east side of that building that faces William Floyd Parkway, make it look similar to the north?
You mean like a little dormer or something like that?
Well, something to enhance it. I mean, I know even the town board was concerned about the elevations all looking similar, but I don't want to see the left of a building as is the main thoroughfare.
I could certainly bring that to the attention of our design professionals.
Weren't they aware of that though when they went through the town board? I thought it was a request by the town board to have all elevations look similar.
Well, yes, it was the quote unquote four-sided front. And I think that's what they tried to achieve with having as opposed to just having it be sterile with no window, no architectural hip element. I think by having the window and the architectural hip element, that's what they attempted to do. Certainly, they don't wish to put a front door or something like that, which you see at the northern end of the building. So I think that was their effort or attempt. I don't know if there's a suggestion other than what was proposed over there with those architectural elements. So,
Yeah, I don't know either. I just,
Yeah.
it just doesn't look like it's facing in the right direction. I mean, I understand the concept of why you've done it that way. But you're driving by and you're looking at the side of a building.
When I worked on this too, when it was before the town board, and I think the issue here really is that side of the building looks like the rear side of a building, except it's going to be facing the main roadway. So understanding that you have to have the doors there potentially, because of the layout of the building, obviously you have to have the doors on some end, and the other end, I think, faces a residential area. So that's probably not the best spot for them. But I think that if it could just not look like the rear of a building, color scheme, something, some kind of detail, maybe additional windows, something that would help out there.
What do the doors that are shown, what do the doors that are on that side of the building, where do they lead to? The double door and the single door? What's behind there?
I'll see if I could pull up the floor plan, but I think that's like utilities and electrical components and that sort of, that aspect. I'll just see if I can find the floor plan. But I think that's, just a second. Yes, if you, looking at the floor plan, it is, I think it looks like utilities over there and back of the coolers. So this way you can load from behind. So you can access your utilities and access the back of the cooler without necessarily having to come in through the store.
Right, but that's all on the main thoroughfare. That was my concern.
Understood. I mean, I could go back to my design professionals and see if they could do something to enhance. I think what they, and you've seen sometimes in poorly designed buildings where, they'll use a lesser material in the backs or on the sides, and it will look very bland. So I think what they tried to do is use the same materials, use the same brick, use the same hardy plank, use windows in that same fashion. Like I said, using all high quality materials for all four sides of the building. I don't know, maybe if there's a shutter or something like that, but we certainly could look to see what could be done to address that. I think I believe all other aspects of the architectural elements were of high quality and acceptable to everyone that we've spoken with. So if there's something we can do to enhance that, we'll certainly do so.
Mr. Smith, let me ask you a question. If he was to, I mean, we're not questioning the quality of the material. The front of the building is fine. It's facing the wrong direction, my concern. But you have to do something on the east side that people driving by, especially if you're driving north, what you're looking at essentially is the loading ramps on the side of a building.
Would it be possible to put the entrance for the cooler loading on the south side, and then you could dress up, you wouldn't see those double doors, you could dress up that east side just a little bit more?
I'm sure those double doors are probably metal doors that are going to look like the back or a service entrance.
Well, that's what I said. If you could move them to the left side, if you're looking at the east elevation, move it to the left side, which is the south elevation where the cursor is right now. You could put the doors over there. There's a lot of detail already on the south elevation, and you could pick something else up that would look better than those double doors on that east elevation. I think because of the configuration of that building on the site and the configuration of all of the elements on the site, they probably didn't have much of a choice to put the long part of it facing, facing north.
Well, I agree, Mr. Smith, but you understand my concern?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you're looking at the back of a building. You call it the side, but what you're looking at is a loading dock. And that's not something that you want to see off a main thoroughfare. Very few people drive on Ostend or Essex Circle. The only reason you would go there is if, is to go access to the residential area, or if you're going to go the ingress egress to get service. But you can also access the service from William Floyd Parkway, and that's what you're looking at when you pull in. And probably 80% of the traffic that's going to utilize the services of this station are going to be off of the William Floyd Parkway. So what you're pulling into is the freezer location or the ice, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's a divided highway in that area, so the bulk of the traffic, it would be southbound William Floyd traffic. But
Council, directly across the street from this is another gas station. Are you familiar with the area?
Yes, I am.
And the front of the building looks like the front of the building.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
I'll bring that back up to the design professionals, and they will make that look like the front of a building.
Okay, great. Is there any in the public, Councilor Reed?
No, I have no one.
Are there any questions by the board? Can I have this held open to December 7th? Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to hold this hearing open till December 7th.
Motion by Ms. Dunn to hold this an open date, certain date of December 7th, 2020.
Second by Richard Smith.
Second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone?
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly?
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis?
Aye.
Mr. Rose?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Lumberjacks has been adjourned to December 7th. It's going to be one heck of a meeting. Tyler Avenue is adjourned to December 7th on the decision calendar, Tesla Science Center.
That we have a decision if the board is ready. We've amended the comments.
We have that, correct? And Mr. Walutis, that's yours?
Yeah, you want me to make a motion now on that? Or-
Yes, please.
All right. I make a motion to approve this application for a change of use from residence to a visitor center for a museum and facade changes, subject to staff recommendations 1 through 10, last revised October 28th, 2020, as covenants and conditions of the approval.
Okay, motion by Mr. Walutis,
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Pete Zarcone, I'll second that motion.
second by Mr. Zarcone. Ms. Kelly?
I vote aye.
Ms. Dunn?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Rose?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Going back to item number 1.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to deny the request to increase the clearing limit from 36% to 58.5% and approve the increase in clearing limit from 36% to 53% with staff recommendations 1 through 5, last dated October 30th, 2020, as covenants and conditions of the approval.
A motion by Ms. Dunn,
Second, Richard Smith.
second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone?
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly?
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis?
Aye.
Mr. Rose?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Old Orchard at Miller Place, we were giving her time to come back to, she was going to work with Brooks Environmental, is that correct?
Yes.
So we're holding this open to 7th as well?
Correct.
Did we
Yes,
make
I
that?
made a motion. to
You
that
did,
effect.
okay, I didn't write it down, that's why, okay. Item number 3, MD 365 at Patchogue,
You want to leave it on the decision calendar so you can see what you want to do?
okay. Item number 4, 1600 Route 25, Court Ridge.
Yeah, this is Steve Walutis. I make a motion to approve this application for a 500 square foot atrium on the southeast side of the building, subject to staff recommendations 1 through 7, last dated November 5th, 2020, as covenants and conditions of the approval.
Motion by Mr. Walutis,
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Pete Zarcone, I'll second this motion.
second by Mr. Zarcone. Ms. Kelly?
I vote aye.
Ms. Dunn,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
The chair votes aye, motion carries. Item 5 has been withdrawn. Item number 6, no shown up. So, Ms. McCallion, other than December 7, what's the next meeting after that?
The calendar is not prepared yet for next year. I don't know if we're having it December 23rd or not. I guess December 23rd.
Is there one scheduled for December 23rd?
Yeah, December 21st.
Okay, so we have a motion to hold this to December 21st.
Chairman, this is Stephen Walutis. I'll make a motion to hold this application until December 21st.
Motion to hold Crest Wisconsin LLC Medical Building to no certain date of December 21, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, Pete Zarcone will second the motion.
Second by Mr. Zarcone. Ms. Kelly,
I vote aye.
Ms. Dunn,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. 7-0. 8.
Mr.
Chairman. 10.
9.
Excuse me?
The 7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's on a different page.
There are different staff reports for each one and different secret,
Yes.
Okay, so let's take item number 7 first. I need CEQA.
Make a motion for a negative secret declaration.
Motion for a neg deck by Ms. Dunn.
Second, Richard Smith.
Second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone.
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly.
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis.
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion on the application?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve this application for a two-lot land division with 2 staff recommendations last dated October 28th, 2020 as covenants and conditions of the approval.
Motion by Ms. Dunn.
Second, Richard Smith.
Second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone.
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly.
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis.
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. I need a secret determination on Fuco and Gerard.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for negative secret declaration.
Motion for a neg deck by Ms. Dunn.
Second, Richard Smith.
Second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone.
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly.
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis.
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I make a further motion to approve this application with staff recommendations 1 through 7, last dated October 27th, 2020, as covenants and conditions of the approval.
Motion by Ms. Dunn.
Second, Richard Smith.
Second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone.
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly.
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis.
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Secret determination on application number 9, Fuco and Gerard B. Warehouse, Brookhaven.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for negative secret declaration.
Motion for a neg deck by Ms. Dunn.
Second, Richard Smith.
Second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone.
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly.
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis.
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, I make a further motion to approve this application for a site plan with special permits with staff recommendations 1 through 7 and special permit 85-565.d, last dated 10/28/20 as covenants and conditions of the approval.
Motion by Ms. Dunn.
Second, Richard Smith.
Second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Zarcone.
I vote aye.
Ms. Kelly.
I vote aye.
Mr. Walutis.
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Brixmore is being held on December 27th. Item number 11, Mariano Rivera Honda at Port Jeff Station, secret determination.
Mr. Chairman, don't we have to leave that, we've left that open?
Yes, to get the change of zone effective date.
Okay, yeah, for the town clerk. Okay, thank you. Item number 12 is being held on December 7th. Item 13 has been adjourned. Tyler Avenue is being held on December 7th. We did item 15. you all on the decision calendar. We're going to leave on the decision calendar for further discussion. I think that concludes everything. Is there anything the board would like to discuss before we adjourn?
Just want to make sure everybody knows that we're not doing the second meeting of November. Then our next meeting is in December. We did cancel that.
I think this November 23rd was the scheduled meeting. We're not going to have it, so we moved everything to December 7th.
And the only thing we had was that one that I think was going to withdraw, Lee. I don't know if they've done that yet.
My
I
concern
didn't
is,
get anything from them specifically, so I'll double check.
Okay, so that's the only thing that we had on that date, so we were just gonna.
That was the Chris LeBate one?
Yep, August, I think it was called. Yep.
All right, I didn't realize it was on the 23rd and we're not having that meeting, so I'll ask him.
Sure, yeah.
is there anything else in the department right now? It looks like it might have been scheduled for December 7th.
I did speak with the staff and we're working on putting things on for that date. And we're looking about the other meeting in December. We don't have anything yet, but because we're not that far in yet, but we will keep an eye on it because I know you did put one item on it and we will keep you up to date.
Okay. Any other questions by the board? Well, Mr. Rose, it was certainly nice of you to have major discussions this afternoon. Always good to hear from you.
My pleasure, sir.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, this is Board Member Pete Zarcone. I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Zarcone. Mr. Rose, you might want to jump in there.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Ms. Kelly. Ms. Kelly,
I vote aye.
Mr.
I vote
Walutis,
aye.
Ms. Dunn,
Aye.
chair votes aye, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the record.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. See you in December.
Oh, before it's just.
What?
Our next meeting will be when? The 21st?
December
December
7th.
7th,
December 7th.
Pearl Harbor.
And
Pearl Harbor
21st,
Day.
we are,
Not
yeah,
having it.
it's the night
Aye.
before my,
All
yeah,
right, good night, everyone.
the night before my daughter's 10th anniversary.
Good night.
I
Good night.
don't know if I'll be there. Good night. Be well, everybody.
You too, Pat.
Leave the meeting.